Hey, welcome everybody to the Freedom Garden Club podcast show. This is Shawn Starry. Today I have a special guest with us today, and she is going to um, share a little bit about herself and a little bit about the Panhandle fire and some other things. So I want to welcome Kerry. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you. It's kind of um, exciting to do this. I've never done a podcast before.
Well, there's always nothing like a first time to kind of break the ice, right?
You bet.
So, what you want to share a little bit about your connection with the Texas Panhandle fire?
Yeah, glad to. I was raised on a farm ranch combination north of Belgrade, Montana. And my dad raised registered Angus cattle. And he wasn't any bigger than me. He weighed about 119 when he went into the Marines. He was a hard worker. My parents were uh, remnants of World War II, came out of that being thankful for the privilege of freedom and the opportunity to get started uh, on their own and work hard, that ethic. So I remember my dad had two open heart surgeries when he was like 63. And the second one put him well under, he couldn't do anything. He had no oxygen. He could barely get to the bathroom. So the neighbors, we lived way the heck out in the hills. The neighbors brought their combines and their grain trucks and their hired men, and they put my dad's wheat and barley harvest up for him.
Hmm.
And I'll never forget that. And it put a great scar, a good scar on my heart. And ever since then, especially in the ag community, uh, when there seems to be a need, it just compels me. Uh, I want to help if I can. You know, I'm a single woman, I'm a retired teacher. I don't have a whole lot of money, but I have a desire um, to do what I can. So, uh, when I saw on Facebook the devastation,
Hmm.
uh, not only the devastation of homes and buildings, but the cattle and the land. It just I just wanted to help if I could. Um, so that's kind of how what it's all about for me.
You just want to make a difference any way that you can.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a big complicated thing. You know, I'm so thankful. I just thank God for all those people that have those big trucks and all that hay and that can bring it and they're willing to pay the fuel cost to do
Hmm.
that. Um, that encourages me because, you know, quite frankly, uh, it's it's real easy to listen to the pundits and all the media and all the garbage and chaos and ugliness. And I don't, I want to remember and do what is good about America. And there's still people out there that want to do that too. And I want to be part of that.
Right, and I agree with you 100%. Um, it's always we the people that come together in the greatest fashion to be able to take care of one another in time of needs. Whereas politicians, we can never really look to them for any answers or for any real help. Um, there's always, some kind of backdoor deal that always has to be made in order for them to pass any kind of relief for American citizens. But yet they want to pass all these bills for Ukraine
Yeah.
or for Taiwan or something else, some other country, um, or even the illegals that are coming across the border. They're getting all kinds of money, all kinds of exclusive rights, and
And you and I are paying for it
ex-
ultimately.
exactly, taxpayers, American citizens, yeah, and
And I
we're
don't want, forgive me for interrupting, but, I don't want to bes- beswage those people that want to come and work and make a better place for themselves and their family. Because my grandparents came from Switzerland through Ellis Island in 1901. And they came and man, they went to Kansas and lived in a sod hut and grew potatoes. And
mm,
that ethic is wonderful. Come on, bring it on. But that doesn't seem to be the focus of the folks that are coming across the border now, from what I
right.
understand.
Yeah, exactly. I when I was down in Texas at the Panhandle filming this documentary, and I had an opportunity to actually help people hand in hand with raising the money and delivering the goods and taking them to Fritch, Texas, to Canadian Texas. I met a lot of wonderful people, and on my way home, I was flying on a jet from out of Houston to a United Airline from Houston to Chicago, and there were a bunch of people, mostly women and children, that came boarded the plane that were from Venezuela, and only one person can actually speak English, and that was a young man about 25 years of age, and that opened up the insights to me about um, the conditions and the reason why they were here illegally to begin with, but um, it is not like they had a choice. They didn't come by choice; they were forced here. So there was, I don't want to say it's a sex trafficking issue with them in particular. It was more of just a trafficking issue that they were trafficked out of Venezuela into the United States. Venezuela pretty much emptied its prisons, they emptied its villages. Um, they pushed a lot of people up here. They had handlers that were assigned to them. There was at least one handler for every 50 people, and one young lady. She's about, I want to say her early 30s, and she showed me a picture on her phone of her two boys. The first picture she showed me was, when they were alive and well and looking pretty good, and smart boys. They're about 11 and 13, and then she goes on to tell me the story about how the handlers had pushed her and her sons out of their own homes, um, and with a group of migrants. And along the way, her two boys kind of fell behind, and they had a hard time trying to keep up. Um, and the handler decided that the handler was going to dispose of the boys because they were a nuisance. They couldn't keep up with the group. So the handler shot both of her boys. She was able to get a picture of them before she was pulled away, so that at least she has some kind of proof for down the road to show and tell the world, this is what happened to my boys. And she showed me the picture, and my heart just completely sank. Um, I didn't know what to say to this woman,
No.
other than I just, asked if I can give her a hug, and um, she cried for about a good 20 minutes. Um, my feelings had changed drastically from that point, but now understanding even more so how Biden's administration, who created the CPP One app, um, and then we have our government who funds the United Nations, which the majority of the United Nations funds are coming from the U.S., and those funds are being used to appropriate to push people out of their homes, out of their countries, and push them over here to the United States. There are a lot of people who are coming here that are military age. They're coming of their own volition, but um, there are a lot of good people in the world, just common people, everyday people like you and me. And some people are coming to America just to look for a better life. Um, we have politicians in DC who don't want to make the process simple and make it easy, and for folks like us uh, who come over here to this country and wanted to make a new life. They don't have a lot of money. A lot of them don't have much of anything other than the clothes on their back. They should be afforded an opportunity.
Yes.
But the issue remains is that we have military age men coming over here seeking to do nothing but harm and no good. And we have a president right now that could care less about our border security as a whole, um, trying to flood our country with people who will essentially vote for him, so to speak. Um, I always say that the Democrat Party will always try to win by hook or crook. Um, and that, you know, and I know that's kind of an old saying,
No,
but
but it's so apropos.
right.
It just is. I mean, if you look, I listen to Glenn Beck and Wendy Bell out of Pittsburgh, and Joe Robin and Dan Bongino. You know the corruption. And if it hadn't been for COVID, I mean, I didn't take the jab and I got sick, but I didn't get it again. If it hadn't been for the jab and the COVID, I don't think I really don't think that the reality of the corruption
Mhm.
that is rampant in our sweet America would have come to fruition. And it's kind of a catch-22. It's a sad thing, but maybe it's a good reality thing. It's just that it's so broken. I
Yeah.
just don't know, and I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't. After seeing all the corruption, I don't really know if going to the polls is really going to make a difference, because if Trump wins, there's so many variables that he has to deal with, so many facets of power and money
Yeah.
that he have to get rid of. I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if one man, even if he surrounds himself with a cabinet that says they agree with his policies, I don't know if he can do it. I don't
I,
know if it can be restored. I don't.
a lot of people feel the same way as you do. Is how can one man be able to undo all the wrongs that have been done and to keep this corruption out of DC? And the truth is that Trump said once before that he he's willing to put himself up as a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
Not trying to take away as a religious thing, but what he's saying is that the rest of America needs to wake up, and that's why he kind of stepped off to the side. He didn't, um, in a sense, but after when 2020 came and we had all this by hook and by crook, how Joe Biden got into office, and then after that point, it was pretty much the rest of America, waking up to the hard realities of the truth about what's going on. We have a lot of
Yeah.
citizen journalists like myself and Don Bongino and all those. They came out and we said, "Hey, we've been saying this for years. Um, this is how Washington is. Well, Washington D.C. has been basically taken over um, by people who are don't have our interests best at heart,
No.
and
No.
so now we're kind of at that phase where more and more things are going to happen. We believe there's more black swan events happening. Like recently, we saw the ships that several or one ship crashed into the bridge there, um, and there's two more ships that or two more bridges that were affected on the same day. Now we've got the solar eclipse happening.
Yeah,
We
April 8th. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got CERN talking about how they're going to be activating CERN on the same day. NASA scientists talking about sending up three probes up in the upper stratosphere, and they call it the serpent. You know, um,
Really? They call it the serpent?
they call it the serpent.
Ugh,
Yeah, and just the way the shaping of the serpent itself. That's the three probes going 1 second after each other, and when they're released, and they there's a lot of the word serpent that comes from is the Egyptian deity.
yes.
That is the opposite of Ra, the sun god. Um, so when the solar eclipse happens, they call that the serpent moment. I see there's a little more sinister things going on, but it could be something simple. Uh, it could be just, yeah, they're maybe just taking some testing. They're trying to see what the electricity is like, is weighing and waxing that's up in the upper stratosphere. But I still have my doubts. The government hasn't even told us the truth about JFK. Um,
No.
what's how can they tell us the truth about anything anymore? So
Well, I just don't expect it from them. And, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. And in Isaiah, God says, I lift up kings and I bring them down. And I'm saying, okay, if this Joe Biden and all his people, or the Republicans, for crying out loud, if you're allowing that to happen, then yeah, in my humanity, I've got to believe you. But man, why? But uh, if
yeah,
that's what it's about, if God, and I believe God's sovereign and He's in control,
hmm
then I'm just going to have to live through this and see what happens to my sweet America.
yeah. I remember back in the day when I first accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I went to a men's Bible study group, and I had a bunch of older men um, that were my teachers,
Yeah.
and we studied a great length about um, Revelations. That was
Yeah.
my first book out of the Bible
Oh,
that I studied
wow.
was the book of Revelations, and I have a very cryptic mind. I see things in a different way than most people do, and so Revelations to me was a really easy subject to understand, whereas opposed to most people is very difficult to understand. It's even more difficult for me to try to explain it to non-believers
Oh,
about
yeah. Yeah.
you know the stages and the
Yeah.
trumpets and all that stuff. But um, the biggest takeaway that I got from what I've learned from them at that time is this. Even Jesus comes out and says, "Listen, I don't even know the day, time, or the hour I'm going to be
That's
returning.
right.
Only the Father does."
Yeah.
So, and we're kind of in a time right now where faith is ever so more prevalent. Um, I think that God has a hand in a lot of this. He's allowed Joe Biden, the Democrat Party,
Yep.
the politicians to be as, you know, they'll kind of let them loose and say, hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
do your worst or do your best or whatever. Because this nation needs me more than ever, and we definitely need to come back to Christ.
Yes. Well, and if my people will repent and turn away from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven and restore them. Well, I'm the first one. It starts with me, starts with you to repent of what we've been a part of and what we've allowed to happen in our apathy, sitting, and on the what, a chair in our living room and not getting off our duff and going to a school board meeting, or making making a retaliation, a debate against what we see, we know in our hearts doesn't feel right. If we're
Right.
not willing to do that, and we have won't repent of it, then he's not going to hear.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not.
That's a big thing is we need to bring God needs to be on the forefront of everybody's mind.
Yeah,
Uh, and I believe that's where it starts.
I do
Uh,
too.
this is how we can turn things around. Now, back to this conversation about Donald Trump being, the guy that's going to save America. Truth is he's a leader. He's. I believe that he's appointed by God. I believe that he's appointed by God, put into the position to do what he's supposed to do. And I think a big part of that is he was meant to bring about the exposure, um, and to show the rest of the world just how evil the members in our or politicians in DC, how they're trying to, if they're willing to go to any lengths and every lengths to go after one man, there he has a famous way of bringing things to light, exposing a lot of the deep dark secrets, and he's been just really fantastic about it. He's been a great guy to do that, because if it were just any other average American, we would see it in the news as some kind of XYZ, and they're being charged with XYZ, and then we would never hear anything more about it. The press coverage would be one and done.
Yeah.
But with Donald J. Trump, he just constantly just kind of pokes, he pokes at the belly of the beast and he exposes it. And we're more and more people are waking up to the fact that
Yeah, I think they are.
we need to come together. We have to stand together, regardless of what our political affiliations, our religious affiliations, or even the color of our skins,
Oh
or
yeah.
even a gender. I mean, we have to come together. We have to say, you know what, we're tired of this. If they're going to come after the strongest ones of us, well, the weakest ones of us, we're not going to be able to defend ourselves when the
No,
time comes. So,
I just we I he's just a man. He's a sinner just like the rest of us.
yep,
He has, like you said, he is a time for what was said to Esther. She was a, it was a time. What is that? How does it go? Such a time as this. She
yep,
was the person for such a time as this. I think he is, but I also think that we have got to pray for him.
mhm,
I don't really believe that I've listened to his testimony or whatever, and, he doesn't say he's a born again Christian. So what? But God has put him in position, hopefully, and we have got to stand behind him in prayer.
yeah,
'Cause-
yeah, and I agree 100%. We need to be we need to put him in our prayers constantly. We need to put each other in our prayers
Yeah,
constantly, and our
yes, yes.
the love of our nation. Um, but more importantly, we need to love. We need to we all need just kind of come back to Jesus and say, okay, where do we start? And just trust in that. You know, I spent a good 30 years, working as a military contractor. 4 years before that, I was in the Marine Corps.
So was my
Um,
dad.
okay, Semper Fi. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the wonderful thing
Hoorah!
about you know, hoorah, we can change. Um, we have to overcome. We have to change. That's what I love about America. That's what one of the big things that stands out apart from the rest of the world is that we have the ability to adapt and to overcome. Um,
Because
we have a nation.
we have freedom to do that.
We do,
We have
we do,
freedom
and
to overcome and adapt.
right, and that's the thing. A nation of people who believe upon its principles is a free nation. But if we have a nation of fools who will believe anything other than what our Constitution has been written for, then we no longer have a free nation. And now
Yeah,
that's the,
it's just that what the judicial system is doing in ignoring the Constitution. Uh, there's a verse that says there are those that won't have ears to hear or eyes to see, and because they're being influenced by Satan. And you know, you
yeah,
can't. It's hard to go to a church anymore and hear anybody preach about Satan,
I know,
because
right,
people want to hear love and give and whatever, and that's great, but there's another side to that. And
mm,
I really believe that he is a lion roaring around, looking to those he can devour, and devour the minds and the thinking. And I think there are those that just they're not able to hear. They're
right.
not.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't, whether they realize it or not. Um, Satan is he knows the Bible backwards and forwards.
Yes.
He
Yep.
knows every sweet spot. Um, and I've always said to my friends, Satan has infiltrated the church many, many years ago. We have, prosperity gospel. We have
Yeah.
Joel Osteen. We
Yeah.
have the other gentleman in Texas. Where he's always got these really weird looking devoid eyes and um, just kind of strange in his behavior and appearance. But one of the big takeaways I get from seeing this is, in the book of Proverbs, it talks about wisdom, and you know, wisdom is attained by two ways. One is by watching the mistakes of others, and then the second one is making the mistakes ourselves.
Mm.
And we see this, the first one, happening a lot more often, where we're watching a lot of these pastors or claim to be pastors that are leading our churches down the wrong path.
Yes.
They don't want to talk about hell. They don't want to talk about um, the consequences of sin. They want to teach and preach is tolerance. And
Yes.
the Bible does not talk about well, it talks about tolerance, but not in the way that they're preaching it. Um, the gospel is very clear, and it says, "Hey, God does not tolerate sin,"
No.
and you know that's why more and more people are finding out the hard way. We're seeing testimonies come out now with all this transgender stuff, or transgender reassignment surgeries that are done to these kids. And some of these kids are growing up now. They're coming out and they're saying, hey, this is what I have to put up with on a constant day to day basis. I will never be a woman again. I will never feel like a woman again. And this is why. And, it just breaks my heart. But,
Yes.
you
Ah,
know, at the same time, I believe that God is allowing it to happen for the grand scheme of things, is that to wake us up. We need to get up. We need to pick up our Bibles. We need to start reading. We should devote at least, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes a day, just, reading a couple of passages, letting that soak in, maybe praying before you start reading it, asking for wisdom. These are things I believe that we're lacking.
I'm well, my degree is in music, but when I came to Wyoming, there was no money for music teachers, so I got a PE degree and whatever. But my heart's music, and so the last 2 nights, I've been watching the 1977 documentary. It's called Love Song, and it brought some of the old baby boomer type musicians, the Jesus movement, the Jesus music people together one last time.
Hmm.
And the music, and that's where I grew up with that genre. Hi, how are you? Uh, the music was biblical. The lyrics were biblical. It was simple. Uh, the Keith Greens, second chapter of Acts, the Randy Stonehills, all those folks that were part of that. They weren't in it for money. They were in
Right.
it because Holy Spirit was compelling them, and it was so it was so refreshing to hear that again. It helped me. It encouraged me in the last couple days. Yep.
That's that's we need more of that in our lives. I think. I know that with the Paladins Roundtable Network, myself, I'm one of the four owners, and
Tell me about that.
so the Paladins Roundtable Network is owned by veterans and first responders. We're trying to bring back the old fashioned networks where we're bringing the real news to people where it's not slanted, it's not one sided, but we leave uh, we leave the news up to the people to decide. We leave the decisions to the people because we believe the people are best suited to decide how that story should end. Now,
Is
we're
this
gonna have.
biblical? Is there a biblical part of this?
Yes. So some of us uh, some of us are not believers, and but but some of us are. So like myself, I'm a big believer in Jesus. We will have one show on there. It's called The Word with Timber. Now Timber, he does Bible studies, and he teaches right out of the book, the Bible, to other people on his podcast show. And so he's that's a very integral part of our network. Um, myself, I everything that I do in life is everything is biblically based. It's godly based. My faith in Jesus. Um, so the network is designed to bring people together and in the way of Jesus Christ, right? So we have we have a couple of shows on there. We actually have one documentary that I had done years ago that focuses on dispelling the truth and the myth about being homeless and how understanding why people do become homeless and how we can help them. Um, and we're gonna have some more shows up there. We're gonna have some more movies. We're gonna have just a garden variety of different things. These are all godly based type of movies or podcast shows. These are also where this is where we're getting back to our roots of what founding fathers who first originated this, designed this country to be, was was standing on the principles and the foundations of Jesus Christ. And that's kind of where we're trying to bring that back. We're trying to bring the country back from the brink of destruction because we know that history tells us that um, the blind leads the blind right off that cliff. And so
And if you don't look into it, you're going to repeat it. If you don't know the history, you're going to repeat it.
exactly. And so those of us who, like myself, and Scooter and Mac and Casey, we're constantly working around the clock, always been trying to make some new improvements, to our business and our website and to the network. And it's a never moving dynamic, but this is all done by God's hands. We didn't know each other from uh, I didn't know any of them until I started going on TikTok and I started following another gal named Syl, who was a veterans advocate, and she's a bridge between the veterans and civilians. And she has Friday nights, she has Veterans Night, and it was really amazing because I met a lot of people there. We made a lot of great friends, um, and that's how I met Scooter, and then that's how I met Mac, um, and then that's how I met Casey. And we've had such a successful hit so far with everything that we're trying to achieve. So our principles really is this: we want to take the left and the right and bring them back to the center. And if we don't, what's going to happen is this nation's going to become like another statistic, another Rome, um, another civilization that failed because
Yes.
we couldn't get our shit together. And I believe that the United States, in my heart, is going to change the course of history where we're not going to repeat those same mistakes.
I'm afraid that I listened to Steve Dace. He's a brother on Glenn Beck, and he's always saying, here's how I feel, but go look for your own self, check out the facts. Um, I just there have been people that have said in Revelation, there's no mention or metaphoric uh, kind of indication about America.
No,
So why? And right now, in where I'm sitting, the way we're just exploding from within, I just wonder if maybe there is no history, no relevance for us in the last days. I don't know. That hurts me, makes me sad. But I don't want to focus on that
right,
as much as I'm here and now. You're here and now. What is it that the Lord wants us to do? Be a part of, and this is part of it. This is part
right.
of it, and so I'll focus on that.
So that's the thing about the Balance Roundtable Network. We believe in first and foremost is not only our faith in Jesus Christ, but secondly is our Constitution. So we're big advocates for the freedom of speech. With all the censorship that's been going on around social media in the past 4 or 5 years, you know, this is a platform where we can come together and we can actually have a discussion about whatever we want to have discussion about. We don't have to worry about some politician or some organization trying to shut us down. Um, that's one of the big reasons why we created this network is because we want a place where people can go to. They can actually interact with us, when we're doing our lives, when we're, if they have questions, they can send us, through our contact. They can send us questions. It can be about anything, and it can be, to any one of our show hosts, you know. And then we've got, the levels of membership where, they, they, they pay the top tier. Well, then we get to invite them onto our show. Uh, we will have them as a guest.
No, I didn't have to pay anything.
Right. But that's that's the wonderful thing about what we're trying to accomplish is that we don't know it. We really didn't know each other from Jack Adam, but we came together because there was that growing and pressing concern and need that we're the older generation. We have to come together for the sake of our children and our grandchildren.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're willing to risk it all just to make it happen. So
Yes.
everyone
Yes.
can continue to be able to have that freedom of speech and have all the liberties. That's the big thing is that the Constitution is just a piece of paper the forefathers had wrote down. what our liberties were, what our rights were, and then the rest of it was trial and error.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that if we lose faith in our Constitution, we will no longer be a nation.
No.
And a set of laws that are, we have a lot of laws on the books today. I can't even begin to tell you what they are, but when I do run across a few every now and then, I say, well, gee, I didn't even know we had this law. It's been around since the 1870s. But again, it comes to there's oversimplification of a lot of these laws being made by politicians who only in office just to, gain a fortune. They don't care about the people. But the thing is that we, the people, we actually do have a lot more power than we possibly even realize. We have the power to remove those people from our government. And more importantly, if we needed to, as a founding father said, we can overthrow the government as a whole and start over again. And that's the beauty of the Constitution is more and more people need to understand that when we can come together and say, hey, I don't agree with what this politician is saying. More importantly, I don't agree with what they're doing.
Yes.
We're so focused on what they're saying all the time, and we're not focused on what they're actually doing. And the more we get
They
focused on,
say one thing when it's time for them to for them to be reelected. They say one thing, but then they their actions don't back it up.
no, no, they'll say, "Well, we'll see you 4 years later." We'll come back for your votes and
Yeah.
your campaign contributions. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
So, do if I want to be part of the community, how do I go about doing that?
So what you have to do is you go to paladinsroundtable.com. Once you're there, you can subscribe.
Okay.
You can sign up for newsletters. Um, you can send us messages. We've got a lot of things coming right now. The website is under construction. It is up and running, but we're going to be making some big changes in big ways. I really can't get into that too much here, but all I can tell you is that it's going to be a lot of cool benefits that are going to come with that. Um, we're going to try to give the people not only direct access to us, having communication with us, and we can communicate back with them, but they get to be a part of the process. We're going to be holding meetings. We're going to be holding our, what they call it, content creator meetings. So we have podcast show hosts like myself, and once a month we're going to come together and we're going to invite a special guest to be a part of that show. And we're going to be talking about different things, what we're doing with our shows, what direction are we going with it, getting some ideas from our special guests, just different things like that. Um, we also have a free resource page where if anybody wants go to that free resource page, they can download those things. Um, that helps them with whether there's a mental health. There's 22 a day, or they're just looking for just some free resources on anything and everything. Um, so we're going to try to put more and more free resources out there. We want to be a library of information for people.
So,
Um,
as a subscriber, uh, once I understand where you're coming from and your Second Amendment, how you stand on that, and other things, can I uh, can I offer references to the community then?
yeah, so that's the cool thing is that you can go to the website and you can go to the free resource center, all that stuff. That stuff is for free. We'll have some shows on there that's going to be free. Um, all of the more notable stuff of the to be involved as a part of the Paladins Roundtable. That's where we get into subscription levels. And those people who do subscribe to us, they get to be they get to be a part of our family, essentially. And they get more privileges to be able to do more things, to be a part of our roundtable network. And they get to, be able to share their voices, their concerns, or their ideas, uh, through podcast shows. They get to be guests on the podcast show. They can send us, anybody can send us messages. So if they have any ideas they want to share, they can. We're going to have merchandise available. I know with my show anyway, those who do subscribe to me will get a free T-shirt and a mug. So they're going to get something. But at the same time, I'll reach out to that person. I'll talk to that person and maybe see about getting them on my show as a guest. Um, so there's a lot of things coming down the road that we want people to be heavily involved with us. We want them to be a part of this process. We want this platform to be for we the people.
So, if I become a subscriber and have the opportunity to refer, like, let's say, a streaming webcast from this woman I listen to a lot, uh, who who in your community, or who in your hierarchy, whatever, who sifts and sorts through the stuff that comes as a reference to you, so that you know it's in line with what you're wanting to project. I mean, there's trolls out there that are just full of shit that would try to
Well,
send
see,
stuff to you and whatever, and that would so
so that's a wonderful thing is that our network um, is exclusively owned by myself and three other individuals. Um, so we invite anybody and everybody to come. But obviously, if we're getting messages from trolls, we have a way of kind of dealing with them, and we want to invite the trolls to be a part of our community. That they don't have to be alone. They don't have to fight us. They don't have to be part of this division propaganda. And if they still choose to be a part of that problem instead of the solution, and then we have the ability to block them. We have the
okay.
ability to kind of deplatform them. Um, just like
So, somebody, one of you three, are always making sure that you're kind of taking a
yeah,
look at all that stuff.
yeah. So a lot of the podcast shows they're pre-recorded. So this actually takes away a lot of the trolls' abilities to try to shut us down. And because it's our network, they can't shut us down.
Yeah.
Um, where we're not connected to any other social media platforms that's out there. Um, this is where the freedom of expression comes in. So if I want to say the word fuck, I can say the word fuck all I want. There's nothing they can do about it. If I want to talk about the COVID jabs, I'll talk about the COVID jabs all day long. There's really nothing they can do to shut us down, um, theoretically and legally. But we don't want we one of the conversation we don't really want to get into too much is about trying to overthrow a government. um, I see that as sort of a last recourse
Yeah.
when we've exhausted everything. We see people who are being systematically thrown into prison without a fair trial. We see a form of communism have taken place, has taken root, and is really accelerating. Then well, we're always up to revisiting that down the road, but we try to focus on Jesus Christ, God's will for our lives. What can we do to help? How can I help my neighbor today? How can I make a difference in somebody else's life? We're focused on the unity aspect right now, um, and that's kind of the direction that we're going with this. Is that we want to bring the left and the right together, and I think a lot of trolls that are out there are just people who are lonely. Um, Maybe they don't know how to express themselves. Maybe they, had a bad childhood or something. Um, they've been so disconnected because when we had the lockdowns, right? We had how many people were stuck at home? They were not able to get out to talk to anybody. They weren't using their five senses because they're stuck at home. So I think something happened up here with a lot of folks. And when we started coming out, um, it was pretty rough for some people. It's like cavemen coming out of their caves, meeting each other for the first time in thousands of years. We don't always see eye to eye on a lot of things, but I think as we progress along, I think people are going to find their way uh, to be able to talk to one another. We want this platform to be a place where you can come, you can stay, but everything that's in between, enjoy the ride.
Well, I'm glad to speak with you and listen. It's encouraging to know that you are out there. Uh, um, I can't really find. I'm in a small town, and I just went to a Good Friday service, and all I heard was um, love, peace, do good to your neighbor. You'll feel good about yourself when you do. There wasn't one word, not one, about the sacrifice that Christ made for us. Not one.
Mm.
And so I haven't been to church for 2 years here. I stream Alistair Begg out of Parkside Church in Cleveland, and I kind of feel alone because I can't find
Can't find that home.
what the Bible, what the gospel is about here.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm getting cold.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go feed my horses. Well,
Well,
has it been 45 minutes?
yeah, it's actually been 53 minutes.
Wow. All right. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you for coming and being part of this show and um, just shooting the shit with me today. So,
Yeah, yeah. So once this is over, I just go to that Roundtable Network and I can subscribe and then contribute through
yep, you
that
can.
way.
There's many ways you can contribute uh,
Okay.
on on there. So, but I'll send you a text to it.
Okay.
We're and
Well, I will be following up. Thank you, Barry.
I'm Shawn.
Barry. I'm sorry.
My name
Yeah,
my name is Shawn.
Shawn. Shawn.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No, that's okay. No.
Shawn. Okay.
So I want to let all of our watchers out there, all of our future subscribers and support know that this is a place where you can come, you can call home. Where we will include you in on a lot of things that we do with our network, um, and we're hoping that you stick around, check out the other shows. We've
Yeah.
got a lot of information on there. I believe that we're going to be America's first radio-free um, network, and this is a network where you can come to and you can be part of this family. As far as to where the churches have been going, I haven't been to a religious gathering in probably 10 years. So I'm like you. I'm in the same boat. But I think, like Jesus said, whenever two or more come in my name,
Yes,
I
I
am
will
there
be there.
also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's
Jesus is with us today. So,
yeah. Well, he brought us together. I believe that. So, what's next?
well, it's like it says in Proverbs 16:9. It says, man may plan his destination, but it's God who plans or orchestrates his footsteps."
Yeah, yeah. I believe that.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
how
right.
do I get out of here?
I'll disconnect you.
Oh,
Uh, all right. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. God bless.